To cover my dad's mountain of medical bills, I signed a contract and marry my boss's daughter, Isabel Jo. She gave me the money, and in return, I'd act as her shield for a year, a fake husband to get her family off her back about getting married while she waited for her boyfriend to come back from overseas. Today was the last day of the contract. It was also the day I was supposed to drive to the airport to pick up said boyfriend. Before I left, Isabel, who had always been ice cold to me, suddenly started acting strange. As she was rushing me to get the car started, I looked at her cheeks, flushed with excitement at the thought of seeing her true love, and a bitter coldness washed over me. A whole year, I've been cooking for you every single day, trying new recipes, learning to make soups because of your stomach problems. And for what? So you can be all healthy and rested for another man. Right? Whatever. I'm just the chef and the chauffeur. As the thought crossed my mind, Isabel whipped her head around and stared at me, her brow furrowed. What did you just say? I flinched, my hands tightening on the steering wheel. I didn't say anything. Is she hearing things? Forget it. It's the last day. Just get through it. Once I get that final $250,000 payment, I'm going to lease a small spot in Astoria and open my own restaurant. I'll call it Hayes Table. It'll be a private kitchen concept, only 10 tables a night. Take it or leave it. I was lost in a pleasant daydream about my future when Isabel's voice cut through the air again, this time with a tremor of disbelief. Hayes Table? In Astoria? I slammed on the brakes. The car screeched to a halt on the shoulder of the road. I looked at her in horror, my heart pounding against my ribs. How'd she know that? I've never told a single soul about that plan. Did I say that out loud? Isabel's face was even paler than mine. She stared at me, her eyes boring into me as if trying to find a crack in my composure. Think again. Think about what you were just thinking. Think about what? The 250 grand? Okay, once the money hits my account, first thing is to move Dad to a better room at the hospital. With the rest, probably around $200K. That should be enough for a deposit on the lease and renovations. I've even planned the opening menu. I'll lead with all her favorite dishes. A grand opening special, just to spite her. Isabel's eyes grew wider, her lips trembling slightly. You'd really use my favorite dishes as a grand opening special? I was completely dumbfounded. At this point, I was certain either I was losing my mind, or she was, or we both were. Just then a scooter slammed into our rear bumper with a loud thump. It wasn't serious, but it was enough to shatter the bizarre tension. I got out to deal with it. The rider was a young guy, incredibly apologetic. We exchanged insurance information, and the whole thing was over in less than 10 minutes. When I got back in the car, Isabel had resumed her Ice Queen persona, but her eyes held a new, complex emotion I couldn't decipher. Let's go. We're going to be late. I started the car again, my mind a chaotic storm. What the hell just happened? Mind reading? Did I fall into a fantasy novel? No way. Maybe she hit her head when I braked so hard. I stuck a glance at her in the rearview mirror. She looks fine. Doesn't look like she has brain damage. Let's try one more time. Isabel Jo is a total idiot. I thought the words very clearly. She didn't react. Okay, must have been a coincidence. I'm overthinking it. I breathed a sigh of relief and focused on driving. I didn't see the woman in the back seat slowly clench her fists, her nails digging so deep they nearly broke the skin. We arrived at the international arrivals terminal and spotted Leo almost immediately. He was dressed in a white linen suit, wearing a pair of gold-rimmed glasses, his hair perfectly coiffed. He definitely had the whole pretentious artist vibe down. The moment Isabel saw him, her face lit up with a smile I hadn't seen once in the entire year I'd known her. She hurried over to him. They shared a brief, gentle hug. And there it is. The hug. The year is up. All hail the return of the one true king. Jesus, this guy looks anemic. He's walking on air, dark circles under his eyes. Must have been partying hard in Europe. Isabel's taste is something else. Treating this clown like he's a prize. Leo released Isabel, and his gaze fell on me, laced with a mix of scrutiny and barely concealed hostility. Isabel, who's this? Isabel's smile faltered for a second before she recovered. This is Ethan Hayes. This past year, he's been a great help to me. A great help? You mean a chauffeur and a private chef? Way to dress it up. I plastered a professional smile on my face and gave a slight nod, all while grumbling internally. Leo extended his hand. Hello, I'm Leo Vance. Thanks for your hard work. I shook it, a quick, firm grip before letting go. His hand is freezing. Definitely low on testosterone. Nope, gotta stay away from this guy. Don't want him sucking away my life force. As I was thinking this, I felt a sharp pinch on my arm. It was Isabel, and she wasn't being gentle. I shot her a confused look, but she avoided my eyes, turning back to Leo. Let's head home. Where's your luggage? Ethan, go get the bags, Isabel said to me, her tone reverting to its usual chilly command. I nodded and pushed the cart towards the baggage claim. She sure knows how to order people around. It's the last day. Just one final bit of exploitation. This suitcase is heavy. Is it filled with rocks? Let's see, 2 big ones. A Samsonite and a Rimawa. The man knows how to travel in style. I heaved the 2 massive suitcases into the trunk, breaking a sweat. Back in the driver's seat, I glanced in the rearview mirror. Isabel and Leo were in the back, whispering to each other. Isabel, you've suffered this past year. Now that I'm back, I'll talk to your parents, and we can get married right away, Leo said, holding her hand, his voice thick with emotion. Here we go. More empty promises. If he really had the balls to do that, he wouldn't have run off to Europe a year ago. Let's be real. He's just after her family's money. He wants to marry into the Zhou fortune. Isabel didn't pull her hand away. There's no rush, she said softly. I'll talk to my parents again. See? Even she knows it's bullshit. These two, a liar and a willing fool. A match made in heaven. As my internal monologue hit its stride, Isabel suddenly spoke up. Ethan, take us to my apartment. I paused. Through the mirror, I asked, not a hotel. Leo chimed in, yeah, Isabel, I already booked a suite at the Ritz-Carlton. Ooh, the Ritz. Someone's splashing out. That's gotta be a few grand a night. He's probably planning a marathon session in bed tonight. Drain what's left of his weak-ass constitution. Isabel's cheeks flushed an odd shade of red as she shot me a glare. I said, my apartment. Her tone left no room for argument. I have plenty of spare rooms. A flicker of delight crossed Leo's face. He had clearly misinterpreted the invitation. I didn't ask any more questions. I just changed course and headed for her luxury penthouse in the heart of the city. The atmosphere in the car turned strange. Leo was still droning on about his adventures abroad, but Isabel seemed distracted. Her gaze kept drifting to the rearview mirror, landing on me. It was an unnerving look. Why does she keep staring at me? Is there something on my face? No way. Can she really hear what I'm thinking? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Back at Isabel's penthouse, I placed Leo's suitcases by the entrance. Ms. Joe, Mr. Vance, if there's nothing else, I'll be heading out. I just want to get out of there, get my $250,000, and start my new life. Leo was clearly eager for me to disappear. Of course, thank you, Ethan. We'll have to take you out to dinner sometime. Sometime. The classic blow-off. Phony bastard. I grumbled to myself and turned to leave. Stop. Isabel's cold voice came from behind me. I stopped, turning back to look at her, confused. Now what? Her Highness requires something else? Don't tell me she's going to stiff me on the final payment. The contract is in black and white. Agreement fulfilled, peaceful termination, $250K paid in full. You dare to screw me over, and I'll be outside your dad's corporate headquarters with a picket sign tomorrow morning. While I was mentally cycling through 100 different ways to collect my debt, Isabel walked towards me. She was wearing a beige dress that highlighted her pale skin and tall, slender figure. She stopped right in front of me, her expression unreadable. You can't leave. I was stunned. Why not? The contract is up today. Leo frowned. Isabel, what are you doing? Ethan has his own life to live. Exactly. For once, the pretty boy says something that makes sense. Isabel ignored Leo, her eyes still locked on me. I said, you can't leave, she repeated, her voice carrying an unyielding, overbearing tone. Until we're officially divorced, you are still legally my husband. So you have to stay here. I was completely floored. Leo's face turned an ugly shade of gray. Isabel, are you kidding me? I just got back. Isabel finally glanced at him, her tone softening slightly but remaining firm. Leo, don't misunderstand. It's just, my parents need a little more time to adjust. Ethan staying here is only temporary. Adjust? Adjust my ass. I think you're the one who needs a reality check. You're ditching your long-lost lover to keep your fake husband around? What is this, some kind of twisted soap opera love triangle? Count me out. Hayes' table is waiting for me. I took a deep breath, determined to set things straight. Ms. Joe, our agreement is over. It's not appropriate for me to stay here. Besides, I've already found a place to live. Isabel raised an eyebrow. You have? Where? None of her damn business. A friend's place, I said aloud. Male or female, she pressed. Seriously? You're asking me this? Are you my wife or my mother? Oh, right. Still technically my wife. My patience was wearing thin. Male. After hearing my answer, the corner of Isabel's mouth curved into a barely perceptible smile. Perfect. Tell him not to wait up. You're staying here tonight. She gestured towards the guest room. Leo, you must be tired too. Why don't you go get some rest in the other guest room? She had seamlessly arranged everything for both of us. Leo's face shifted between shades of green and white. But seeing Isabel's resolute expression, he swallowed his objections and accepted the absurd arrangement. I just stood there, my brain feeling like it was about to short-circuit. This wasn't how the script was supposed to go. Wasn't I supposed to take the money and ride off into the sunset? How did this devolve into a three-person cohabitation nightmare? What the hell is this woman playing at? Wait a minute. Is she trying to Welsh on the deal? Is this her way of stalling? The more I think about it, the more likely it seems. These damn capitalists are all the same. The thought made me furious. My gaze on Isabel sharpened with suspicion and anger. Dinner was awkward to the extreme. Isabel actually had the nerve to ask me to cook a welcome home feast for the happy couple. Leo sat at the dining table like the man of the house, trying to make small talk with Isabel about art and gallery openings. And me? I was in the open-plan kitchen, wearing an apron, looking like a goddamn butler. Welcome home feast? I'll give you a welcome home you won't forget. You want me to serve you 2 lovebirds? Not in this lifetime. Tonight, you're going to get a taste of what Chef Hayes is really capable of. Muttering curses under my breath, I started prepping the ingredients with practiced ease. The fridge was fully stocked with groceries I'd bought just a couple of days ago. A wicked grin spread across my face as I pulled out my secret stash of ghost peppers and Carolina Reaper hot sauce. Half an hour later, 3 dishes and a soup were on the table. A fiery Texas-style chili with so many red peppers you could barely see the meat. Nashville hot chicken, where you had to hunt for the chicken amidst a mountain of dried chilies. A spicy jambalaya, tingling with a 1-2 punch of cayenne and habanero. The only non-threatening dish was a squash and pork rib soup, which looked innocent enough, but I had secretly added a generous amount of white pepper. Dinner's ready, I announced, taking off my apron, my face a mask of neutrality. Leo looked at the table, a sea of red, and his brow furrowed into a knot. Ethan, do you always eat this spicy? I pulled out a chair and sat down, helping myself to a bowl of rice. It's not bad. Good for the appetite. Eat up, pretty boy. Eat until you die. Let me introduce you to a world of pain your colon will never forget. Isabel glanced at me, a flicker of amusement in her eyes. She actually picked up her fork and took a bite of the chili. She let out a small hiss, her pale cheeks instantly flushing red as beads of sweat formed on her forehead. But she just took a sip of water and then, to my surprise, went in for another bite. Seeing this, Leo had no choice but to man up and try some. He took one tiny bite and immediately erupted into a coughing fit that shook the table, tears streaming from his eyes. Cough, cough. This is insanely hot, he gasped, chugging water. I was secretly ecstatic. Can't handle it. Rookie, you should have seen me in the back of a Tex-Mex kitchen during a dinner rush. Now, that was a war zone. Instead of comforting Leo, Isabel handed me a napkin. You look hot. Wipe your face. I froze. Was this the same Isabel who usually treated me like I was invisible? Leo's expression soured even further. The meal felt more like a torture session. Leo barely touched his food, spending the entire time drinking water. I, on the other hand, had to maintain my love spicy food persona and force down 2 huge bowls of rice. Isabel ate a surprising amount, too, her lips swelling up from the heat, which I had to admit looked kind of sexy. After dinner, Leo claimed to be jet-lagged and wanted to turn early. He looked at Isabel expectantly, his intention obvious. You want to sleep with her? Dream on. Look at yourself. A mess from a little spice. You think you got any fight left in you? Just then, Isabel picked up a glass of red wine and gracefully walked over to Leo. Then, her foot slipped, and the entire glass of wine spilled directly onto the crotch of his white linen pants. Oh my God, Leo, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to, she exclaimed, though her face showed zero remorse. Leo looked down at the large, conspicuous red stain on his pants. His face turned green. You should go change. You must be uncomfortable, Isabel said, with an air of concern. You brought a change of clothes in your suitcase, right? Leo ground his teeth, forcing out a few words. Yes. I'll go change now. He stood up and practically fled the dining room in humiliation. Watching his retreating back, I almost burst out laughing. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. That performance deserves an Oscar. So the Ice Queen isn't completely clueless. She knows how to handle this phony. I was still gloating when I looked up and met Isabel's smiling eyes. Something funny? I immediately wiped the grin off my face and shook my head. No. She put down her wine glass and began walking towards me. Ethan, the food you cook is delicious. Duh. You're talking to a pro. If it weren't for my dad's medical bills, you think I'd have spent a year as your private chef? She stopped in front of me, and a light floral scent drifted into my nose. Especially the soup. The amount of pepper was just right. My heart skipped a beat. After Leo was sent home to change, the huge apartment suddenly felt empty, occupied by only me and Isabel. The atmosphere instantly became charged with a dangerous, ambiguous energy. I quickly started clearing the table, planning to hide in the kitchen. Leave the dishes. The housekeeper will get them tomorrow, Isabel said, leaning against the kitchen doorway with her arms crossed, watching me with an amused expression. She's not letting me do the dishes? What's her game? Time for a post-dinner reckoning. Something's not right. She's been acting weird all evening. I wiped my hands and looked at her warily. Ms. Joe, is there anything else? She let out a soft laugh and walked slowly towards me. The click-clack of her heels on the marble floor sounded like a drumbeat against my heart. Ethan, we've been married for a year, and you still. Always call me Ms. Joe. What else would I call you? Babe, do you deserve it? Do I deserve to say it? Don't be ridiculous. This is a business arrangement. I looked down, avoiding her intense gaze. It's a habit. She stopped right in front of me, so close I could smell the fresh scent of her body wash mixed with a faint hint of red wine. Then starting today, you can break that habit. Her finger gently tapped my chest. Through the thin fabric of my t-shirt, I could feel the cool touch of her skin. My body went rigid. I held my breath. Whoa, what's she doing? In broad daylight. Is she trying to molest me? Stay calm, Ethan. You have to stay calm. This has to be a trap. She's trying to get out of paying me the $250K. She's going to accuse me of sexual harassment and take everything. Yes, that must be it. These rich people are ruthless. I can't fall for it. Hayes table, my beautiful future, it all depends on that money. Alarm bells screamed in my head. I jerked backwards, slamming my lower back into the corner of the countertop. The pain made me wince. What are you dodging for? Isabel asked, a playful glint in her eyes. I'm scared of you, I blurted out. Yes, that's the look. The terrified expression of an innocent young man being harassed by a predator. This is so humiliating. Seeing my panic state, Isabel couldn't hold it in any longer and burst out laughing with a soft. The sound was like a glacier melting, a flower blooming in the dead of night. For a moment, I was captivated. All right, I'll stop teasing you, she said, straightening up and resuming her cool demeanor. Your room is the same one as before. Get some rest. With that, she turned and glided gracefully towards the master bedroom. I let out a long sigh of relief, feeling like I had just narrowly escaped death. I fled to my small room, locked the door, and leaned against it, my heart still racing. That was terrifying. That woman is definitely insane. I have to figure out a way to get her to pay me and let me go. Fast. I took a quick shower and lay in bed, but I couldn't sleep. My mind kept replaying Isabel's actions and her bizarre words. Just as I was about to drift off, I heard a soft knock on my door. I shot up in bed. Who is it? It's me. It was Isabel's voice. It's the middle of the night. What does she want now? I locked the door. She can't get in, hee. I had barely finished my triumphant thought when I heard her voice from the other side of the door. The air conditioner in my room seems to be broken. It's not cooling. So-called building maintenance. Why are you telling me? I'm not a repairman. Can I sleep in your room for a night? Me? She wants to sleep in my room? Then where do I sleep? The couch. Why should I? I cleared my throat and said through the door, my bed's too small for two people. There was a moment of silence from outside. I know. So tonight, you're sleeping on the couch. Before I could argue, I heard her walking back to her room to get her pillow and blanket. A few minutes later, I heard the sound of a key in my lock. I had forgotten she had a master key to every room. The door opened, and Isabel waltzed in, holding her pillow and dressed in a silk nightgown. She completely ignored me, frozen on the bed, and tossed my pillow aside, replacing it with her own. Then she pulled back the covers and slipped in my bed. Good night, she said, turning her back to me, her voice laced with a satisfied, languid tone. I sat on my bed, staring at the woman who had just commandeered my sleeping space, my mind in utter chaos. What is this? A hostile takeover, my innocence. My bed. This woman. Is she the devil? The next morning, I was awakened by the smell of something cooking. I stumbled up from the couch, dark circles under my eyes, my entire body aching. I'd spent the whole night on edge, terrified Isabel would try something, but she had slept like a log, completely undisturbed. I walked into the kitchen to find Isabel, wearing an apron, frying eggs. The morning sun streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows, casting a halo around her. The scene was so beautiful it felt unreal. An illusion. This has to be an illusion. The great princess who has never done a day of housework in her life is making breakfast. Did hell freeze over? She heard me and turned, her face soft with morning sleepiness. You're awake? Come have breakfast. On the table were fried eggs, toast, and hot milk. It was simple, but for me it was terrifying. I sat down and looked at her suspiciously. You made this. Are these eggs poisoned? Is she trying to kill me, so she doesn't have to pay me the $250K? What a vicious woman. As if she could read my thoughts, Isabel picked up a piece of toast and took a bite. Relax, it won't kill you. My heart sank. This only strengthened my conviction that she could hear my thoughts. After a nerve-wracking breakfast, Isabel got a call from her mother. When she hung up, she looked at me and delivered a piece of news that felt like a lightning strike. My mom wants us to come over for dinner tonight. The milk glass in my hand almost slipped. US. Yes, us. She paused, then added, Leo will be there too. Great. A trap. You want me, the fake husband, to meet your real boyfriend in front of your entire family of snobs. You're throwing me to the wolves. I immediately shook my head. I'm not going. Our contract is over. Isabel slowly wiped her mouth with a napkin. The contract is over, but we haven't filed for divorce. Right now, you are still Isabel Joe's husband. If you don't go, I'll tell them you took my money and ran. Damn it, you venomous snake. Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. I was so angry I couldn't speak. Fine. You want to play dirty? So can I. You want me to go? I'll go. You call this a family dinner? I'll show you what a real disaster looks like. A brilliant plan instantly formed in my mind. Tonight, I will play the part of a crude, crass, money-grubbing gold digger. I'm going to make a scene at your family dinner, act like a complete buffoon, and make all your stuck-up relatives despise me. By the end of the night, your own parents will be begging you to divorce me, probably throwing the $250K in my face just to make me disappear. I'm a genius. With that thought, my anger was replaced by a surge of excitement. I looked up at Isabel with a dazzling smile. All right, fine. I'll go. But I can't wear this, can I? It's my first time meeting the in-laws. Y soy lo presentable. First, let's squeeze some money out of her for a new suit. Can't pass up free cash. Isabel looked at my sudden change in attitude, a knowing smile in her eyes. No problem. She took out her phone and transferred me $50,000. Is that enough? I stared at the transaction notification on my phone, my eyes wide. 50 grand. More than enough. Way more than enough? I could buy a whole Armani wardrobe with this. Rich people are just built different. I suppressed my glee and gave a nonchalant nod. Yeah, that should do it. Isabel stood up, looking down at me. Then get yourself ready, husband. You'd better be on your best behavior tonight. She put a special emphasis on the word husband, and the playful look in her eyes sent a chill down my spine. But I didn't care. I had only one thought. Just you wait, Isabel Joe. Tonight is the night your social life dies. That evening, dressed in a brand new black suit, I accompanied Isabel to the Joe family estate. The suit had cost me 30 grand. The other 20 went straight into my savings account. The Joe estate was a French-style mansion perched on a hillside in Greenwich, Connecticut, extravagantly lit and oozing luxury. Leo was already there, chatting with Isabel's parents in the living room. He was also wearing a tasteful suit, looking charming and completely at ease with Isabel's father, playing the role of the prospective son-in-law perfectly. The moment Isabel's mother, Mrs. Joe, saw me, the smile on her face faded, her eyes scanning me with a critical air. Isabel, this must be Ethan. I immediately pasted on a fawning grin and hurried over. Oh, Mrs. Joe, a pleasure. You look so young. Standing next to Isabel, anyone would think you were sisters. Step 1. Lay on the cheap flattery. Establish a shallow first impression. Mrs. Joe's mouth twitched. She was clearly not impressed. Isabel's father, Mr. Joe, just gave me a cursory glance and a nod. Isabel stood beside me and whispered, "Don't say anything stupid." I smirked to myself. The show hasn't even started yet. Soon the other guests arrived, all Joe family relatives. At dinner, I was seated at the far end of the long, lavishly set table. I didn't mind. I picked up my fork and immediately dug in. Wow, Boston lobster. This stuff is expensive. Gotta eat more. Australian Wagyu beef? Even more expensive. Can't let it go to waste. Red snapper? My favorite. I ate like a man who hadn't seen food in a week, completely ignoring decorum, my mouth stuffed, making appreciative noises. Everyone at the table was staring at me, as if I were some kind of country bumpkin who'd never been to a fancy dinner. Mrs. Joe's face was as dark as a thundercloud. A fashionably dressed woman, who I gathered was Isabel's aunt, spoke up with a snide tone. Isabel, your husband certainly has a healthy appetite. Just as Isabel was about to respond, I cut in my mouth full of beef. You must be the Andy, right? I don't have many talents, but eating is one of them. My mom always said a good appetite is a blessing. Step 2. Act boorish. Solidify the country bumpkin persona. The aunt was taken aback, pursing her lips before turning back to Isabel. By the way, Isabel, you and Ethan have been married for a year now. How come there's no news yet? You need to hurry up. It's not good for a woman to wait too long to have children. At this question, Isabel's face darkened. I knew this was a sore subject for her. Here it comes. The classic meddling relative routine. Isabel must hate this. Fine, I'll help her out. Even though my goal is her social demise, I can't let these old bats bully her. I put down my fork, wiped my greasy mouth, and looked at the aunt with a serious expression. Auntie, you got it all wrong. We young people believe in scientific family planning. Isabel is very career-focused. We've agreed that we'll start thinking about kids after her company goes public. Besides, having kids is about fate. You can't rush these things. I'm a genius. Fighting fire with fire. Let's see what you say to that. My little speech left the aunt speechless. The atmosphere at the table grew even more awkward. Isabel was looking down, her expression hidden, but under the table, her hand quietly found mine and squeezed it. I was startled and tried to pull away, but she held on tighter. What's she doing? Why is she holding my hand? Was she impressed by my quick thinking? No, she must be afraid of what I'll say next. This is her trying to control me. Just then, Leo, who had been quiet for most of the meal, raised his glass. Mr. Joe, Mrs. Joe, a toast to you both, and to the continued success of Isabel's company. His words were flawless, his posture elegant. Mr. Joe nodded in approval. Watching his self-righteous act made my stomach turn. Keep pretending, asshole. A pretty boy who lives off a woman, acting like he's some kind of big shot. Nope, I have to mess with him. I shot up from my chair, grabbing my wine glass. I stood so abruptly that I knocked my chair over. Dad, Mom. My shout was so loud it was like a thunderclap, startling everyone. Mr. and Mrs. Joe's faces turned a sickly shade of green. Oblivious, I held up my glass, my face flushed and bellowed. I'd like to propose a toast to you two. Thank you for bringing such a wonderful daughter like Isabel into the world. For Ethan Hayes to have married her, my ancestors must have done something truly incredible. I'm not a man of fancy words, so I'll just drink up. You all do whatever you want. With that, I tilted my head back and chugged the entire glass of red wine. Step 3. Drunken, rambling nonsense. Perfect. Now you have to think I'm not good enough for your daughter, right? Come on, throw the money at me. Tell me to get lost. I let out a loud burp and looked triumphantly at Isabel. But I found her staring at me, and in her usually cold eyes, there was a glimmer of something I'd never seen before, something bright and shining. The dinner party ended in a deafening silence. On the way back, the car was terrifyingly quiet. I snuck a peek at Isabel. She was leaning against the window, watching the city lights blur past, lost in thought. Oh man, did I overdo it tonight? Her parents looked like they just swallowed a fly. But hey, it should have worked, right? They're definitely going to force her to divorce me now. A 250 grand, my Hayes table, here I come. As I was happily plotting my future, Isabel spoke suddenly. Ethan, I jumped. Tonight. Why did you say all that? Her voice was soft. Say what? I played dumb. To make your parents hate me, so we can get a divorce, obviously. Do you even need to ask? She turned her head and looked at me quietly. You said marrying me meant your ancestors did something incredible. That was an act, lady. You didn't actually believe it, did you? God, women in love are terrifying. I cleared my throat. I was drunk, just talking nonsense. She didn't press further, and the car fell silent again. The next day, Leo got his revenge. He went straight to Isabel's father and told him I had sticky fingers, that I'd been stealing expensive ingredients from the house to sell online. Mr. Joe summoned me to his study. He sat behind his massive desk, his face grim. Leo stood beside him, a look of profound disappointment on his face. Isabel was there too, standing by the window, her expression unreadable. Ethan, Leo tells me you've been stealing from this house. Is that true? Mr. Joe asked, his tone severe. A hot rage flared up inside me. Son of a bitch. This pretty boy is playing dirty. I worked my ass off for you people for a year. I haven't stolen so much as a spring onion. This is a straight-up frame job. I suppressed my anger and said in a low voice, no. Leo immediately jumped in. Mr. Joe, I know this is hard to believe, but I saw it with my own eyes. A few days ago, I stopped by to see Isabel and saw Ethan sneaking a bottle of black truffle oil out of the pantry. Later, I did some digging and found him on an e-commerce site, selling things from your house. Truffle oil, Spanish jamon. He pulled out his phone, showed a few screenshots to Mr. Joe. Bullshit. Isabel specifically asked for pasta that night, so I went out and bought that truffle oil. Did she forget? And that e-commerce site? I was selling my old gaming console. It has nothing to do with your family. This guy Leo, he's shameless. He'll do anything to get rid of me. What a disgusting piece of work. I was shaking with anger, about to defend myself, when Isabel, who had been silent the whole time, walked over. She took the phone from her father's hand, glanced at it, and let out a cold laugh. Leo. Her voice was quiet, but it carried a chilling weight. Leo flinched. Isabel waved the phone. This black truffle oil? I asked Ethan to buy it. The receipt is still in my wallet. She pulled a receipt from her purse and slapped it on the desk. And as for this online marketplace account, she swiped to another picture. Why don't you take a closer look at the profile picture? Leo leaned in, and his face instantly went pale. The tiny avatar was blurry, but you could still make out that it was a selfie of him. I had used one of his social media pictures as a joke a while back, never thinking it would come in handy. Ha ha, idiot, you try to frame me, but your own face became the evidence. Let's see you talk your way out of this one. I was laughing my head off internally, but on the outside, I maintained a look of wronged indignation. Mr. Joe's expression had shifted from grim to furious. He stared at Leo, his eyes filled with disappointment and anger. Leo, you've disappointed me greatly. Leo started to panic, babbling, no, that's not it, Mr. Joe. Isabel, let me explain, this is a misunderstanding. Enough. Isabel cut him off sharply. You don't need to explain. Ethan is my person. It's not your place to interfere. With that, she grabbed my hand and turned to leave. Dad, this is the end of it. I don't want this to happen again. She dragged me out of the room. I stumbled behind her, my mind completely blank. Did she just say what I think she said? I'm her person. Damn, that was so badass. Why do I feel like? That was kind of hot. Leaving the Joe estate, Isabel practically shoved me into the car. My heart was still pounding long after we drove away. That was awesome. So freaking cool. My person. It's not your place to interfere. What a line. I never knew the Ice Queen had such a protective side. As I was reliving the moment, Isabel spoke from beside me, her voice cool. Why was your profile picture on that side of photo of him? My heart skipped a beat. Crap, I forgot about that. I can't just say I did it because he pisses me off and I wanted to mess with him. I need a good excuse. An idea popped into my head. It's because I think Mr. Vance is handsome, very charming. I figured using his picture as an avatar would attract more female buyers. I'm a damn genius. Isabel shot me a sideways glance, a sarcastic smile playing on her lips. Is that so? Then what does selling a gaming console have to do with female buyers? Me? Damn it. She's too smart for me today. I rubbed my nose awkwardly and decided to change the subject. Thanks for today. No matter the reason, she had saved my skin. Thanks for what? She asked casually. For believing me. Even though you probably only knew the truth because you can read my mind, I should still thank you. Isabel was silent for a moment, then turned to look out the window. I don't believe you. Her voice was very soft. I just don't like it when other people bully my person. My heart did another flip. There it is again. That damn phrase, my person. Does she have any idea the effect those words have on a guy? No, Ethan, get a grip. She's just acting. It's all part of her plan to keep you around as a shield for her family. Don't fall for her tricks. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to calm down. Back at the apartment, the atmosphere was even stranger than before. Leo was nowhere to be seen, probably too embarrassed to show his face again. That evening, I cooked dinner for the two of us as usual. During the meal, Isabel suddenly asked, that restaurant you want to open? Hayes Table. What's your vision for it? My hand paused midair. I looked at her warily. Why is she bringing this up again? Is she trying to steal my idea? These capitalists will stop at nothing. I answered vaguely, just a casual little spot. Nothing fancy. Is that so? She put down her fork and looked at me seriously. Because that's not what I heard. My blood ran cold. What she heard. She really can hear me. What did you hear? I asked, trying to stay calm. You said you wanted to open it in Astoria, where there's a real neighborhood feel. The space doesn't have to be big, but it needs to be clean and bright, with large floor-to-ceiling windows. You want an open kitchen, so the guests can see you cook. You said you'd use only the freshest ingredients to make food with heart. You said your restaurant would be for people who truly appreciate food and who appreciate life. She recited my dreams, one by one, every word landing a direct hit on my heart. These were the blueprints I had sketched in my mind during 1,000 sleepless nights. I had never spoken them to another soul. I stared at her in shock, my mouth open, but no words came out. She knows everything. It's not a coincidence. It's not an illusion. She can actually read my mind. The realization struck me like a bolt of lightning, leaving me utterly exposed. I felt like I had been stripped naked and thrown into the middle of Times Square. All my thoughts, all my secrets, laid bare for her to see. A chaotic mix of shame, anger, and panic churned inside me, so intense I felt like I might explode. I shot up from my chair and stared at her. Who the hell are you? No, that wasn't the right question. What did you do to me? Seeing my near breakdown, Isabel's eyes softened with a flicker of pity, but it was quickly replaced by her usual cool composure. She stood up to face me. I didn't do anything. I can just hear what you're thinking. She had finally admitted it. After Isabel confessed to being a mind reader, I locked myself in my room for an entire day. I needed time to process this insane reality. Did this mean she knew about every snide comment, every sarcastic thought, every fantasy I'd had about her for the past year? No, wait. She only started acting weird after the fender bender. So, she's only been able to read my mind since that day. Thank God, that's not so bad. Not so bad. Are you kidding me? Since that day, how many times have I cursed her out in my head? How many insults have I hurled at Leo? How many times have I fantasized about my $250,000 payout? My reputation, my dignity, gone. I buried my head under the covers, feeling like I could never face her again. My social life is over. Completely and utterly over. From now on, I'm an open book to her. Okay, I need a plan. What if from now on I just don't think about anything? The mind is a void. The void is the mind. I try to empty my head, but within seconds, my brain started automatically playing elevator music. This is worse. That evening, there was a knock on the door. I played dead. Isabel's voice came from outside. Ethan, I know you're in there. Open the door. I remained silent. If you don't open this door, I'm calling Leo over. I shot out of bed like a rocket and flung the door open. Isabel was leaning against the frame, an amused look on her face. Knew that would work. I glared at her through gritted teeth. You're ruthless. She ignored my death stare and walked into the room. Leo came to see me earlier. I tensed up. What did that pretty boy want now? He apologized. Said he was wrong to frame you and begged me to forgive him. Crocodile tears. I don't believe a word of it. He said he only did it because he loves me so much and was afraid of losing me. Vomit. Classic gaslighter excuse. He's not afraid of losing you. He's afraid of losing your family's money. I remember last year when your family's stock took a nosedive, he was immediately hitting up another rich girl in London. I saw the chat logs. They were beyond explicit. As I was having this internal rant, Isabel suddenly looked up at me, her eyes sharp. What chat logs? Me? Crap. I forgot she could hear me. I clamped my mouth shut, determined not to say another word, not to think another thought. But Isabel was relentless. You said he was hitting on another rich girl. You saw the chat logs. What's that about? I turned my head away, my mind racing to recite recipes. Chicken parmesan, spaghetti bolognese, margherita pizza, beef bourguignon. Ethan. Isabel's voice was stern. Don't play dumb with me. Tell me. Caesar salad, French onion soup, club sandwich. Isabel stared at my stubborn resistance, her chest rising and falling with frustration. She took a deep breath, then pulled out her phone, opened a photo album, and held it in front of my face. Are you talking about these? I glanced down instinctively and froze. On the screen were screenshots of several chat conversations. The content was disgusting, and the man was clearly Leo. The woman's avatar looked vaguely familiar. Wait, didn't I hack into Leo's social media last year and take these screenshots? I knew the guy was bad news and wanted to have some proof, just in case. But Isabel was so blindly in love with him that I never bothered showing them to her. I just saved them to an encrypted cloud drive. How does she have these? Did she hack my computer? I looked at her in shock. Isabel put her phone away, her expression neutral. Your computer password is my birthday. Me? Oh, for the love of. I could feel my face burning. Seeing my embarrassment, Isabel's gaze softened slightly. So, you knew what kind of person he was all along. I looked down and mumbled a quiet, then why didn't you tell me? What could I say? That if I had told her, she wouldn't have believed me and would have just accused me of being jealous and trying to stir up trouble. At the end of the day, what am I to you? A wave of bitterness washed over me. Isabel watched me, as if she could hear my silent sigh. She was quiet for a long time, so long that I thought the conversation was over. Then, I heard her say, I'll deal with Leo. From now on, he won't be a part of our lives. Her voice was calm, but it held an unshakable finality. Leo Vance truly vanished from our world. I don't know how Isabel did it, but from that day on, I never saw or heard from him again. The apartment returned to being occupied by just the two of us. But everything was different. Knowing she could read my mind made me constantly on edge, walking on eggshells around her. I tried to police my thoughts every day, my mind a constant loop of recipes and philosophical quotes. I was living like a monk, and Isabel seemed to enjoy this cat and mouse game. She would deliberately say things to provoke a reaction, and then watch, amused, as I panicked and tried to cover my mental tracks. She was like a cat that had just cornered a mouse. The one-year contract finally came to an end in this strange, agonizing atmosphere. I packed my things first thing in the morning. It wasn't much, just a suitcase with some clothes and my treasured set of kitchen knives. I dragged my suitcase into the living room. Isabel was on the couch, watching a business news channel. I took a deep breath and walked over to her. Ms. Zhou, the contract is officially over today. Finally, freedom, just give me the 250 grand, and we can go our separate ways forever. I tried to keep my thoughts as neutral as possible to betray no emotion. Isabel turned off the TV and looked up at me. Are you sure? You really want to leave? Duh. You think I want to stick around and celebrate Christmas with you? I nodded. Yeah. Where's the money? I held out my hand, trying my best to sound like a heartless mercenary. Isabel didn't answer right away. She stood up and walked over to me. Today, she was dressed in a simple white button-down and jeans, looking less like a corporate heiress and more like just a woman at home. Ethan, what if I told you I don't want you to go? Her voice was soft, her eyes filled with a seriousness I had never seen before. My heart hammered in my chest. Here we go again. Lady, stop the act. I know you can read minds now. The game is up. Just give me the money. I have to go check out a commercial lease. I took a step back, putting some distance between us. Ms. Zhou, this was a business arrangement. The contract is over. I know, she said, her eyes fixed on me. But what if? I want it to become a real relationship. I was stunned. A real relationship? What does that mean? Is she confessing her feelings to me? No way. Absolutely impossible. She's the high and mighty Isabel Zhou. And who am I? Just a cook who sold a year of his life for 250 grand. She has to be messing with me again. My mind was a whirlwind, but my face remained an icy mask. Ms. Zhou, don't joke like that. I just want the money I'm owed, and then I want to leave. My words hung in the air, sharp and cold, shattering the fragile, unspoken thing between us. Isabel's face paled, and the light in her eyes dimmed. She gave a small, self-deprecating laugh. Right? You just want the money. She turned, opened a drawer in the coffee table, and pulled out a check, handing it to me. 250,000. Not a penny less. I looked at the check, but I felt none of the joy I had anticipated. Instead, there was just an empty ache in my chest. I took it without looking at it and stuffed it into my pocket. Thanks. Well, I'm leaving. I grabbed my suitcase and turned towards the door. Every step felt heavy. So this is how it ends. It's for the best. We're from different worlds. With this money, I can finally open my restaurant. I'll be fine. I'll forget her. I'll forget this whole year. I repeated the words to myself like a mantra, but my eyes started to burn. Just as my hand touched the doorknob, I heard her voice from behind me, trembling slightly. Ethan, did you really not feel anything for me at all? My body went stiff. I didn't answer her question. Or rather, I didn't dare to answer. I was afraid that if I opened my mouth, the entire facade I'd so carefully constructed would crumble. I pulled the door open and fled the apartment that had started to feel like a cage, without a single look back. The sunlight outside the building was blinding. I hailed a cab and went straight to Astoria, Queens. I had to see the retail space I'd been dreaming of for months. I needed to start my new life immediately, to erase Isabel and the memory of that absurd year from my mind. The space was still there, a for-lease sign hanging in the window. I contacted the landlord, a friendly older man. We negotiated a deal easily, and the price was within my budget. I paid the deposit on the spot with the check Isabel had given me. Holding the signed letter of intent, I stood in the empty storefront, but I felt no joy. It had the large floor-to-ceiling windows, and the layout for the kitchen was perfect. It was exactly like the Hayes table I had pictured in my dreams. So why'd I feel so empty? My mind kept replaying Isabel's final question. Did you really not feel anything for me at all? Of course I did. How could I not? She was beautiful, brilliant, and even though she had a terrible temper, I ran my hands through my hair in frustration. Stop thinking about her. It's over. Get a grip, Ethan. You two are from different worlds. For the next few days, I threw myself into setting up the restaurant. I hired a design firm, filed for business licenses, and ran around dealing with endless paperwork. I kept myself busy from dawn until dusk, not allowing myself a single moment of rest. I thought that if I was busy enough, I could forget her. But late one night, I got a call from an unknown number. On the other end, I heard Isabel's voice thick with tears. Ethan, I'm drunk. Can you come pick me up, please? My heart clenched, all sleepiness vanishing. What happened? Is she okay? She never drinks like that. She gave me the address of a bar I'd never heard of. Without a second thought, I grabbed my jacket and rushed out the door. When I got to the bar, I found Isabel sitting alone at a booth, surrounded by empty bottles. She was wearing makeup and a sexy cocktail dress, looking like a completely different person. A group of guys were circling her table, trying to hit on her. She impatiently pushed them away, muttering my name under her breath. A white-hot rage surged through me. I stormed over and pulled her into my arms. Get the hell away from her! I roared at the men. They took one look at my face and scurried away. I held Isabel, who was completely wasted, the strong smell of alcohol clinging to her. I was filled with a mix of anger and concern. Why did you drink so much? She looked up, her eyes unfocused, and then she smiled. Ethan, you came. I knew you would come. Then her head lolled to the side, and she passed out in my arms. I had no choice but to take her back to my small rental apartment. I put her on the bed, covered her with a blanket, and went to the kitchen to make a hangover remedy. When I returned with the soup, she was awake, sitting up and looking around the unfamiliar room in a daze. Where am I? My place. I handed her the bowl. Drink this. It'll help. She didn't take it. She just stared at me. Ethan, why did you leave? Her eyes were red and puffy, like a lost little rabbit's. My heart melted. Did I have a choice? Should I have stayed and waited for your parents to throw a check at my face and tell me to get lost? Isabel, don't you get it? The gap between us is too big to be bridged by a little crush. As I was thinking this, she suddenly threw back the covers and walked towards me, barefoot. She stopped in front of me, took the bowl from my hands, and set it aside. Then, she pulled out a folder and handed it to me. What's this? I asked, confused. Open it. I cautiously opened the folder. As I read the contents, my entire body went rigid. It wasn't a check or a contract. It was a stock transfer agreement and a business investment proposal. The project being funded was, to my astonishment, Hayes Table. The investment amount was $10 million. At the back of the folder was a complete portfolio for a fully furnished, state-of-the-art restaurant, ready to open. The name of the restaurant was Hayes Table, and the address was right next door to the space I had just leased in Astoria, except this one was 10 times bigger. What the hell is this? I looked up at Isabel, completely stunned. She met my gaze, a sly look in her eyes. The $250,000 was our severance package. This $10 million is my dowry. Ethan, I'm investing in your dream, and I'm investing in the rest of your life. The old contract is void. Now, we're signing a new one. I stood there, holding the heavy folder, feeling like I was in a dream. A $10 million dowry? Investing in my dream. Is this woman insane? $10 million? You could buy the whole damn street in Astoria with that, and she wants to invest it in my tiny, unopened restaurant. No, wait. This isn't a tiny restaurant. This is a luxurious, top-of-the-line, modern establishment. She took my dream of Hayes Table and upgraded it to the Platinum VIP Deluxe Edition. I stared at Isabel, my mind a complete jumble. What was the meaning of this? My voice was hoarse. Isabel stepped closer, our bodies almost touching. She tilted her head up, her beautiful eyes reflecting my shocked face. It means I'm not letting you go. I heard all your thoughts, your complaints, your plans, your frustrations, and that little bit of affection you keep hidden in your heart. Ethan, you're a coward. You don't have the guts to admit it, so I will. Her voice was quiet but powerful. I like you. Not because of a contract, not out of habit. I just like you. I like the way you curse me out in your head while making me soup. I like the way you fight with me over money, but you're the first one to stand up for me when I'm in trouble. I like the way you pretend to only care about money, but you've memorized everything I like to eat. Her words struck my heart like a hammer, again and again, creating a tidal wave of emotion. She heard everything. All my double talk, all my lies. She knew. All this time, I thought I was fooling her, but to her, I was just a joke. I could feel my face getting hot. So embarrassed, I wanted the floor to swallow me whole. Seeing my distress, Isabel's smile deepened. So, I'm not letting you get away. You want to open a restaurant? Fine. I'll build you one. The best one. I want everyone to see how talented you are. She reached out and gently traced the line of my jaw. But this restaurant can only have one lady of the house. And that's me. This is a trap. A beautiful, sweet trap woven from my own dreams. She's not setting me free. She's building a golden cage to lock me in forever. This woman is terrifying. She's a mastermind. Alarm bells were screaming in my head, but my body refused to move an inch. Isabel seemed to hear the war raging in my mind. She laughed softly, stood on her toes, and pressed a gentle kiss to my lips. Now, it's your turn to choose. You can take your $250,000 and open your little diner, and we'll go our separate ways. Or you can sign this new contract, be my man, and be the owner of your own restaurant. She stepped back, her arms crossed, watching me expectantly, waiting for my answer. I looked down at the folder in my hands, then up at the woman smiling at me like a devilish angel. I felt like my life had been on a runaway train ever since I signed that first contract. And now, the train had reached a fork in the tracks. One path led to the stable, quiet freedom I planned for. The other led to an unknown, terrifying future that made my heart race. I'm screwed. There's no escape. This woman is using the one thing I want most in the world to make me an offer I can't refuse. Am I being kept or marrying into the family? My mind was a mess of chaotic thoughts, but the words that came out of my mouth were so. How long is the term of this new contract? Isabel beamed, her smile as bright as the sun. She walked over, took the folder from my hands, flipped to the last page, and pointed to a single line. Read it carefully. I leaned in. In the space for the contract term, 2 words were clearly written. For life. I stared at those 2 words and gave up all resistance. Seeing my look of resignation, Isabel closed the folder with a satisfied smile. She looped her arm through mine and rested her head on my shoulder. So, Chef Hayes, she said, her voice filled with a lazy, teasing tone, when is the grand opening of the deluxe edition of Hayes Table? And for the first day, what's on the menu? I turned my head and looked at her smiling face, so close to mine, and sighed internally. Fine. Trapped is trapped. Besides, this cage smelled pretty damn good. I cleared my throat and said in a serious tone, for the grand opening special, the first dish will be a classic cream puff. But there's no cream in it. Isabel stared at me for a second, and then, getting the joke, she pinched my side hard. Ethan, I yelped in pain, but I couldn't stop the laugh that escaped my lips. Outside, the night was deep, but my new life, it seemed, was just beginning.